So last week, Shane, we tried to do this. This is the third. We did 2 podcasts last week, and both of them fucked up because of my internet connection.
Yeah,
and what happened was we did one, all 3 of us, didn't work, and then me and Ed tried to do another one, and I was driving around Fort Lauderdale here to try find some sort of internet connection or what I could boost my internet. Mate, it took me 5 hours to get these connections and everything. Got back to the gaff, had to get an extension wire to plug the main source all the way up into the room, plugged it in, on we go, no change in internet. Fucked up that too. No, I know, terrible.
Yeah, internet, I would have thought America was like fucking high speed across the board, but obviously not.
No, I mean, now I'm in a business center off the highway somewhere. In a big conference room. I'll send a picture and send it to you, but we're here now anyway.
Did you have to lie to him about what you're using the room for? Tell him that you're like CEO of a major company and you're going to be doing some big meetings in there. Just
put the Irish charm on and then we're all good.
Of course, but
Shane,
it does very well across the globe though. Irish charm
gets me in and out of trouble everywhere. It is. It's just it's a good thing to use. So I was saying
Irish are a very endearing race of people, I must say.
They are, I must say, too. English, not so much. But
listen, we are a bunch of cunts. I'll take it. We are a bunch of cunts, but
I know you fucking take it. You don't have to tell me that.
You just take it. Shane, I was bowling last week.
It's not gay though.
And and my back, I totally put out my back. It wasn't from bowling, but in the bowling alley. You know, this was an old school bowling alley. It was like, have you seen the movie Kingpin?
No, I haven't seen it. No,
I've seen the Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the Big Lebowski. I've seen the Big Lebowski. Yeah.
So it's all these. It's like old school lanes, right? It's not like these new hipster fucking bowling alleys where it's all dark and there's all like loud music and shit. There's 4 lanes. This is like 20 lanes. There's one light that lights up the whole thing. And I was bowling, and then in the arcade section of it, they had a punching bag. And I've never used those punching bags before, where you press the button, the bag comes down.
I can see where this is going
right.
already.
So, listen, of course, I'm going to try beat the top score. So, like, I was going at it for 3 times, and I was talking everything into these punches, twisting everything. I was wearing boots, and I could feel I'd pulled a muscle in my back badly. Kept on going till I beat the score. Next day, I wake up in bed like a fucking mummy. My back's killing me. I go to jiu-jitsu in the evening, and I say to myself, I shouldn't go to jiu-jitsu. Shane, you'll relate to this. But I say, I'm going to go anyway. But I'm definitely not going to roll, because that would be dumb. It would be dumb when I fucked up my back to roll. The coach goes...
100%.
100%. The coach goes, time to roll Nabilia in. I go, yeah, of course I'm in. Start rolling and just like completely fuck up my back. Anyway, do you know what it reminds me of?
Ever, if you're in the room and you get asked, you're never going to say no. When you're in the room and you get asked to roll, you're never going to say, no, my back is sore. Because straight away, even if someone's like nice to you, they're like, oh yeah, no worries. You're straight away thinking, oh, I'm a bitch.
I know.
Let's go live, and then you go 100%.
All right, go on, I roll there. Just do a few rounds. I do a few late rounds.
Okay. Is my mic still on, boys? My mic is still on?
You are, bud.
Like yeah, okay, perfect.
Come here. So, I nearly got my knees dislocated yesterday, boy.
Why? What were you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. But go on.
I know. No, I was going for my weekly swim in the sea. And
mate, it's cold to be going in the sea now, mate. It's freezing in Ireland, no?
I go in all the time.
I know you do.
I'm going in constantly since I was.
Yeah, it's
beautiful. It's beautiful. There's a sauna down there as well now, so I do 5 or 10 minutes in the cold water, 5 or 10 minutes in the sauna. I do that 3 or 4 times. It's brilliant.
Nice.
But when I got down there, I looked at the sea and it was rough, like, and I said, you know what, fuck it, like, I'm only going in for a dip, so I'm not going to go in fair. But as I got closer to the water, I noticed there was loads of fucking seaweed in the waves. But I thought, you know what, seaweed's like grass. I'll just walk through the waves, get out to the fucking where there's no seaweed, and I'll be grand.
Yeah.
And as I walked into the water, a wave came in. And in this wave was a hidden wall of fucking seaweed. And I'm not joking, lads. It hit me at knee level. And I was getting fucking... Everyone was on the beach looking at me like there was people walking and shit. So I was trying to tough it out. But my knees went like hyperextended. And this wave kept coming by. My knees were like on the brink of popping. I had to fall back. Like a fucking... I was like, I had to fall over.
I mean, mate, so your knees...
But it was grand.
Your knees are sore.
Through the seaweed.
Your knees are sore and you've got a hoarse voice. Sounds like you were sucking dicky all weekend.
Oh!
Do you know what, Shane?
Listen,
just remember this, right? When I was leaving that bowling alley, I remember the time me and Shane were bowling in London. There was a big group of us. And we had a great crack, right? We leave the bowling alley and there's an escalator out of this place. So I'm going down the escalator and I look behind me and Shane's there with this big fucking grin on his face, right? And he's holding like his jacket in front of him and he lifts the jacket up and there's the bowling ball. He just took out with it. And then we all line up. We all line up like the pins, right? In the street. We're in the middle of a street in London. We're all lined up like pins and they put the ball down. We all fall down like, it was hilarious.
Oh, that was some fucking, I forgot that memory. That's brilliant, boy. That was great crack.
Now listen.
But you know what? I always think in those moments, how can you make the crack continue? And like stealing something like that is always good fun.
It is.
I used to love stealing traffic cones as well. Bringing traffic cones back to the gaff.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if you haven't stolen a traffic cone, you haven't lived life.
You have to steal the traffic cone every now and then.
Or Christmas lights.
Nabs was teaching me stealing techniques from Tesco. Actually, we probably shouldn't say that on here.
No, don't say that. Well, do you know what? 'Cause I had it. No, we'll leave that in because I used to work alongside the head of security for Tesco, and he said to me, "Look, if you want to steal stuff from there, there's a few rules you have to adhere by." And I was like, "Well, what are they?" And he says, "Well, if there's any intent at all when you're stealing, then they can do you for it. But so basically, if you're walking past an aisle and you take something and stick it in your pocket, then you can see right he who's stealing it. But if you just hold something in your hand and pay for stuff or walk out with it, it could be an accident. Like an old lady could be taking a magazine and two of them fall down. So if you're going to steal, make it look like..."
No, Nabs, Ed, before you take this advice on board, right, I know someone else that took this advice off Nabs and got barred from Marks and Spencer's for life. So he done the exact same technique that Nabs is describing here. No intent, but the security officer or the security guard wasn't listening to it, and he got barred off all Marks and Spencer's premises. So don't steal from Tesco. Ed.
You know, the world is fucking bonkers now at the moment. Bonkers. And I've been really looking forward to chatting to Shane about this. And now what we do is we don't actually talk on the phone. We wait till we're on the podcast. And I've been like glued to Twitter the whole time. And we're going to get into all these things later in the show. But Shane, it's called CraicHouse, right? Not fucking Politic House. So we're going to have the crack.
Stop. Not Serious House. But listen, on that note there, I think it's very funny lately, the phone calls, because any time that one of us starts talking, it's like, all right, boy, I'm going to go on, see you later. Boom, hang up the phone straight away. Second, it's like, oh, man.
Well, because
what you think about Putin. It's like, see you later, bud.
I know, but because the reason is that what we do is we jump on a call to arrange the podcast. We say, right, we're going to go on tomorrow at whatever time. And then we're like, did you see that fucking thing in the news? And we're like, yeah, and we end up having an hour-long conversation. And we're like, God, we could have just done that in the podcast. And we've done this every single time and ruined many podcasts that we ruined.
We're talking about it again. We're like,
oh, I know. It's fucking stupid.
So many. But the audience that are listening now are part of that journey. They're going to be coming on a journey with us, watching us grow. Here, I do have to mention as well, my voice is fucked because I was coaching on Saturday. There was fights,
nice.
And I was shouting my fucking
with
head
the fellas
off.
from your gym?
That's why I'm hoarse. Yeah, 3 lads
How
from the
did
gym.
you?
Yeah. Didn't have the best night. 1 win, 2 losses.
Part of the
game. Part of the game, boy.
Live and learn. Ed, I sent you a little video. I wanted just to start it off like this because, again, it's CraicHouse. Crack in Ireland means the fun, the banter. It's part of Irish fucking culture, Shane. That's why we call it the CraicHouse, because we love having the crack, boys. So there's a little video. Yeah. It's basically, it was a guy summing up what's going on now in the world with Putin and all this kind of stuff, right? And he was really explaining all the nuances and everything behind it. Now, it's very short, but I think we should just play it quickly just to set the mood, and then we'll jump into some other fun stuff. Ed, if you have that and you can pull it up.
Got it here.
3 days ago, I thought Zelensky was a clown. But now I know he has the biggest balls in the universe. Okay? And Vladimir Putin is not only a bitch, but mainly he is scared. He's ridiculous. He has a very, very tiny penis, very, very small dick. Okay?
Does he not sound French?
He sounds French. Yeah, I didn't get that either.
He said my government. He sounds very French.
I don't know, because I've been glued to Twitter this whole week, just looking at everything. And we're going to get into all this shit anyway. But when I saw that, I thought, that's hilarious. That's very funny. All right.
Yeah, bye.
So, Shane, we touched upon in the last podcast the Tinder swindler. Now, it wasn't the best documentary, to be fair, but it was a wild story. And since then, I've been trying to see if there's any developments. Now, it all seems absolutely trivial, to be fair, compared to what's going on in the world now. But I still think it's good to put up some fun stuff. But this guy is on Cameo. Do you know Cameo?
Yeah, I know a cameo. I've seen a few people who've gotten like birthday wishes, wedding requests. I was actually at a wedding where Bruce Buffer announced the bride and groom into the dinner room after the wedding, which is great.
You mean he announced it as in they recorded it?
Bruce Buffer had done a pre-recording.
Oh, he'd done a cameo.
Please welcome fighting out. Yeah, it was like fighting out of the red corner.
That's brilliant.
All, like the stats. It was brilliant.
I wonder if Putin is on there. Get a few shout outs from Putin.
He will be, I'd say, no, once he's fucking broke, once he's bankrupt.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that anyway because I don't think he will be. Sneaky cunt. Anyway,
No,
Simon Levi, that absolute mongo, is on Cameo. Now, how they even let him on there, I don't know. But anyway, he's on there. Ed, if you can find the video of him, I want you to show the message. So this guy is part of that documentary, Tinder Swindler. If you haven't seen that documentary, go look at it. It's about this absolute fucking weirdo who cons. He's been scam artist his whole life and he cons all these women out of millions of dollars. Wild story, but I thought it's crazy that he's on Cameo. And you know what's even crazier, Shane? All the comments on there are like, oh, good man, you're a legend, good to see you. All this stuff. There you go, you got it?
Hey, Emily. Here is Simon Levi. I heard from your fiance that you're going to do your first triathlon and you're going to run for the first time. Well, first of all, I'm so happy and I'm proud of you that you're doing that. I want you to run like your enemies are after you. And I'm sure you're going to do the best. Take care. I wish you a great and a magnificent day.
That's fucked up. I even referenced your enemies.
Yeah, it's weird. Weird. Again, how he's allowed to get on Cameo?
There's loads of people on Cameo though, boys.
Loads of people, like, and that's the problem with tech nowadays as well, as like it's not governed. Like, I suppose how can you punish someone for something that they haven't even been punished for in court? Really, like, it's not like he's a convicted fucking.
I saw a tweet.
Is actually
I saw a tweet, Shane, and it was from this guy, and he says Taliban and Putin are still allowed to have Twitter accounts, but he got banned for just tracking Nancy Pelosi's trades and Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. I don't know if you know who Nancy Pelosi is.
Yeah, the senator.
She's a senator, but she was there was a big controversy over her kind of saying that people within Congress shouldn't be allowed to, or should be allowed to
declare their wealth and stuff,
and like kind of get involved in trading and stuff, because they've got inside information in there. So people were anyway. This guy was simply just tracking her calls, putting them out there because people were making a fuckload of money following her picks, and then obviously covering the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. But just weird, you know what I mean? How the tech overlords are pissed off with that. But Taliban and Putin.
Just quickly, who do you think? How much do you think Simon Levi is charging on Cameo for a little message?
It's a good question. That
knowing him, idea. I'd say he's charging fucking $5,000. The fucking narcissistic prick. I'd say
probably he needs the fucking money. I'd say he's probably charging. I'd say $400.
I'm going to say $100.
It's 149, but yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Anyone else weird on there?
There's loads of people on there, boys. David Hasselhoff, Lindsay Lohan.
Okay, whoa, hold on. Give us a couple there, and we'll guess to see who's more expensive.
Okay, good one. Okay, who's charging? Oh, this is brilliant. There's so many. Okay, who's charging more? Do you know who the Island Boys are? You must know the Island Boys are.
Yeah. Do you know
Island Boys? Yeah. I'm an island boy.
I knew Shane. I was waiting for Shane to start singing.
Who charges more, the Island Boys or Carole Baskin?
Oh, mate, Carole Baskin's on there. What kind of Shane? What world do we live in? That Carole Baskin, the Island Boys are on Cameo. We're about to go to World War III. What the fuck is going on right now?
It's the end of the days, but I think that's what it is. The end of it.
Well, we're going to get into this. I'm going to say...
It's a fucked up word for sure. All right.
I'm going to say Island Boys.
I want to guess. I'm going to say Carole Baskin. I'm going to say Carole Baskin is 400 and Island Boys are 200.
I'm not even going to guess the price because it's impossible. I'm going to say that the Island Boys charge more than Carole Baskin.
Carole Baskin charges more than the Island Boys. She charges $300 and the Island Boys $149.
Oh.
Because I thought the Island Boys...
I'm very good at this.
Yeah, you are pretty good at this. Do another one.
But they're also new, you see.
I need to beat Shane. Do another one. That's true,
Okay,
actually, Shane. That's a good point. I like your logic.
Who charges more, Floyd Mayweather or Caitlyn Jenner?
Floyd Mayweather. He's money Mayweather. There's no way he charges less, and his ego's outside.
But wait there, no. Why is he on Cameo? He doesn't need that fucking
No clue, mate.
money.
That's
surely.
the thing,
He's
Shane.
minted, isn't he?
What is the? They obviously don't. How do they have the time to sit down and record a fucking request here? Do you think it's just an ego thing? Once everyone else
How
is on
long-
there, I want to get on there too.
Well, how long would the request be? Could they do like an hour a day and make like fucking 10 grand?
That's a good point.
Potentially.
How much?
Anyway,
I don't know.
I'm going to say Mayweather.
Definitely Mayweather. Mayweather, definitely.
Fuck, I
Can I
want to
guess the
beat you at
prices?
one of
Can I
these,
guess the
Shane.
prices?
Okay, let's guess the prices, and then that
Go
way
on.
we can
I'm
see
going to
who
say
wins.
Mayweather is
Yeah.
450, and I'm going to say Caitlyn Jenner is 300.
I'm going to say Mayweather's 451 and Caitlyn Jenner's 301.
Nabs is closer because they're both that nice one, Nabs. Mayweather is 11,250.
What?
He's the most
That's why he's on
That's
it.
why
That's
he's
why
on
he's
it.
on it.
And then Caitlyn
Fucking
Jenner
hell,
is
okay.
1,850. Mental.
That's still pretty
Whoa,
fucking
buddy.
expensive.
That's
Still pretty
Yeah,
expensive.
mate.
Mayweather's fucking pricey though.
Do you want to do one more?
Do one
Do
more.
one more because I think I'm winning 2-1. So we give Nabs a chance to equalise it.
Are you 2-1? Okay, we'll say you 2-1 anyway.
Yeah, I got the first two. You
I
didn't.
can't remember. I didn't know we were keeping score. I thought it was just a bit of banter, boys. Everything's competition.
There's never fucking banter here.
Moss
There's one
keeping score.
competition. You kidding me? He's the next fucking fighter. You think he's going to play for fucking fun?
It's a good point.
I do sometimes play for fun, but I want to win as well.
Tito Ortiz or Commander Dale Brown. You might not know the name Commander Dale Brown, but you'll recognise his face. Do you want me to pull up a picture of him?
Is Commander Dale Brown that coach?
Detroit,
Yeah, he's the
self-defense guy.
Yeah, the one that's gone viral recently because he's fucking.
Shane, he's in. How is he
Again,
the fucking
he's
the
very
UFC?
new. He's very new to it.
Yeah,
How's he cornering the UFC now? Isn't he? I saw he was
in
in
the-
someone's corner.
it's the fella that did that
So
viral knockout.
it was Joaquin Buckley.
That's the one.
So Joaquin Buckley made a very good point in his post-fight speech, and what he said was he's not getting the recognition he feels he deserves, so he's going to make his own recognition. And because he got Dale, what's your man's name? Commander Dale what?
Commander Dale Brown.
Dale Brown. So he got him in his corner, and he said there was more eyes on him for that fight than any of his previous fights because of that fact. So he was thanking him for bringing so much
Yeah, but
publicity
Shane,
to
that's
his fight, which is a good.
That's the same
very
with
good
Steven
move.
Seagal. When Steven Seagal was cornering everyone, they weren't doing it to get fucking technical advice off that fat cunt. They were doing it because
No,
he
of
was getting
course not.
eyeballs.
But sure, like, lads, did you see that he's over in Russia now fighting?
Steven Seagal? Nah.
Did you not see by CNN shared a piece and Joe Rogan had it put up on his Instagram? That's where I saw it. That there was secret services around the world have confirmed that Steven Seagal is in Ukraine fighting with Russian troops.
Hold
For
on.
Russia.
That's on Rogan's Instagram?
Yeah.
Let me have a look.
Unless
Intelligence
it's fake
agencies
news,
around the
but
world
it's
have spotted
CNN.
American actor Steve Seagal among Russian special forces positioned around the outskirts of captured by Russian airborne troops. I mean, I think that picture is obviously
How
from a
fucked up
movie
is
or
that?
something. It's fucking insane. But who's he fight? Which side is he on? Because isn't he close with Putin?
So he's buddies with Vladimir Putin, right? Yeah, he's very close to him. He's fighting for Russia, like.
Is he?
That is so,
fat
again, like, what kind of
bastard.
world are we living in? What kind of world are we living in?
Hang on, it says here, Joe Rogan mocked for sharing fake news report about Steven Seagal joining the Russian special forces.
Well, yeah, look, I thought it was too good to be true, and Joe Rogan should really have fucking fact checked that, like, but
It is what it is. It's more.
Joe,
I
you
think it's
cunt.
more.
You have to
I
make
think
me
it's
sound
more.
like
It's just the state of the world right now. That's not even non-believable because you've got Klitschko and you've got these guys that are fighting with Ukraine. But anyway, it's fucking wild.
But I do.
But we'll get into
just
that
to
a
go
little
back
bit
to the
later.
UFC thing. I feel like that's a great move by any fighter to build their brand by getting people like your man. If you watch it, lads, if you watch the fight, right, it was a great fight. Firstly, very good fight because two of the boys are fucking monsters.
Yeah.
Joaquin Buckley and the other guy, his name's slipped my mind now, but. After the fight when Joaquin Buckley won and Dale uses in the ring and he's like has his arm around him and he's looking into the camera as Joaquin Buckley is thanking him and you can see his ego is just going like just growing like.
That's a good point
Oh,
that you
so
make there
funny.
about that. I'm gonna say Tito Ortiz is more expensive than your man.
I'm going to say Tito for the fact that he's around longer as well. Yeah, I
Okay,
think
well then we're
Tito's
going to have
probably
to do
about
money
200.
then. I'm going to say
Yeah.
Tito's
I'd say
300,
Tito's 200.
340.
What do
I
you
say
say?
Tito's 200, and your man is like 140.
Okay. I think 340 for Tito, and I think your man's 150.
Dale's on a bargain. So 38 quid for Dale. And Tito's
So I won that one.
Times are tough.
140. Tito's 147.
Oh,
Mate, how the fuck are you
so
getting
you
Tito
won all
Ortiz
the
to
girls for the
fucking?
armpits, bollocks.
It's Tito. It's Tito. What you getting Tito Ortiz to fucking do cameos for you? How do you know that price?
Because on the camera.
How did I know it?
Yeah. No, how did Shane know?
Are you speaking to Shane?
No,
Yeah, I'm speaking
I
to
said he was
Shane.
200, and I said
I was just
I
saying.
said he was 200, so I got it wrong. But I said your man was 140. But I don't know. That was just fucking good guessing, to be fair. But I wanted to talk about the fact that Russia because we talked about Chechnya recently on the podcast and about your man, whatever his name is, fucking the dictator there. Did you see the video that they shared, just like saying that they have 70,000 troops ready to go in for Russia? And these boys, Ed, can you pull her up there because I sent it to you? These lads, look, I mean, if I knew these lads were coming into my town to fucking fight a war, I'd be gone. So
I think I saw the picture of these boys. They just look rough as fuck, right? Big beards, no mustache.
There it is.
Jesus Christ. Oh, and your man is a lunatic as well.
But yeah, terrifying for the people of Ukraine to know that not only very scary men with machine guns are coming in, but also men that are trained in mixed martial arts to a probably higher level than most of the world.
Do you want to get into the whole Ukraine Russia thing?
So I was going to ask you a question, right? And then I'll answer the same question. If you could summarize what you think is happening, do you think you could do that in 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
I could probably do it in 10 seconds, to be honest.
Go on.
I mean, I think it's obvious. I think Putin wants to reestablish the fucking Soviet Union. I still think that he probably holds on to the fantasy of having that Slavic empire again. But I would assume he's wanting to reestablish the Soviet Union to become stronger. And because Ukraine is a key part of Russia. It's a really like good region. It's got a lot of resources. You know, there's still a lot of people in the Ukraine that see themselves as part of Russia. So I think he's trying to do that. Now, it gets very complicated, you know, behind everything else. There's a lot of nuance to all this shit. But in a nutshell, I think that he's trying to rebuild the Soviet Union. What do you think?
When you look at like the history, especially the last 20 years of like the speeches that he's made and the things he said, it's funny, like, because this really is like, it's like a load of children in a playground, and that's the kind of emotional foundation of all this stuff, because Putin has kind of expressed in the past dissatisfaction with him not being kind of welcomed into the conversation with the global leaders, and that, you know, he felt that NATO were kind of infringing closer and closer to the Russian border with their missiles and their military forces. And obviously the Ukraine and the government in Ukraine have been buddying up to Europe and buddying up to NATO. He probably felt like he was going to lose a stronghold of, well, what he sees as a stronghold of the Soviet kind of culture and the Soviet military and all that. Because previous to this government, as far as I'm aware, all of the Ukraine governments were quite Russia pro, like pro-Russia, pro-Putin. So it's a fucked up situation where obviously what he's doing is completely wrong, and he's a narcissist, and he's someone he's gone towards violence and initiating a takeover as opposed to sitting down at the table and having a conversation about it. But you can't only blame him, you have to also blame the West and the leaders in the West, because we and the leaders that we have failed to kind of see this happening. You know, when you have a crazy narcissist running a country who has expressed since 2007 a dissatisfaction at not being kind of like brought to the table, and look at what's happened in the West as well, the tech boom, the affluence of like all of the kind of fucking corporate entities that are from the West, and all of the kind of Eastern Bloc countries want to be part of that because it's more prosperous, it's more, you know, economically fucking viable. And he's also expressed dissatisfaction at the cultural change in the West and how we're kind of allowing these tech giants to take so much control over our way of life. So sometimes I listen to him speak, man, and he says some things that like you can't say. Like I don't like saying like, oh, Putin's bad, so I'm not going to listen to him. And all of the West are good, so they're right in everything they're saying. You have to kind of have an open mind to these things, and that's why I like listening to. If you listen to his Munich security speech in 2007, some of the things he said, you're kind of like, fuck it, like he has a bit of a point there. Like he has a bit of a point. Now he is a dictator in some
Putin
sense.
sympathiser.
See, but that's the thing. You see, you can't.
I'm joking.
It's going back to the narrative on the pandemic. But in general, though, that is the kind of like my mother was like to me, because I said to my mum, like, do you ever listen to Putin talk? She's like, why would I listen to him? He's a maniac. He's a maniac. I wouldn't listen to him. And I was like, but you have to listen to people if you're going to have a fucking.
Yeah, you do. You need to
who's
get
going to suffer at the end of the day, boy.
Yeah, you do.
It's not going to be Putin and his family going to war, or Biden and his family going to war.
The only thing,
or Boris
right,
Johnson and his family is going to be fucking working class people.
Well, the few things on that point, I think that the problem is that we're so locked in on, there's a stronghold on everything. Like there's so many different treaties. Russia has gas and oil and they provide it for here, and this country has a different agreement with them, and it's all locked into this weird, fucked up kind of mess where it's impossible to get anything done. And then you've got everyone kind of trying to fight over a superpower. Now, I don't want to get too fucking dark on this, but I feel like it feels like to me that there's going to be some sort of like reset. I don't know why, but I just think that the way things are in the States, so divided, how are they going to go here? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of civil, upheaval over here at some point. You've got China wanting to be the superpower, Russia trying to be a superpower. It's very fucking messy. And also with Putin, yeah, he's an absolute fucking lunatic, but he's also very intelligent.
Yeah.
He's intelligent though. And so this is what gets, this is the part of it that it is very dangerous, but this is what gets me, Shane, right? Do you not think he anticipated all of the reactions? Like he knew they were going to put all the sanctions. He knew exactly what he's doing, but he still went ahead and did it anyway. So that's a bit like,
yeah, it's a declaration of war though. Like it's a declaration of war. I don't think, like I heard as well that he spent the whole pandemic period reading Russian history and getting more obsessed with this idea that like Russia is losing its culture, losing its power, losing its borders even. So you have a narcissist who's very intelligent and who's obsessed with the history of the place he's from. He's very nationalistic and is very proud of his nation. And then you have the West who kind of like excluded him from the party. Again, I talked about it being like playground stuff. It's like a kid in the playground not being allowed to play with the other kids, and then instead of kind of like trying to go over and have a chat with him, he just starts flinging rocks at them and fucking spitting at them.
Yeah, there was a lot of things. I was really interested in the when they said sanctions. I was really interested in how that works, because obviously with the whole financial system, we're all fans of cryptocurrency, invest in cryptocurrency. So I was kind of, all the time they talked about financial sides, I was always interested. So they put sanctions on Russia, and then they will personally sanction him. Now I read somewhere, I think it was Ben Shapiro said it, I think 200 billion, could be more. I heard another one say 600 billion in assets spread around the world. So him personally, he doesn't give a fuck. Him personally, he's fine. But then when you look at the sanctions that they put on, the one thing I kept seeing on Twitter was, okay, yeah, they did this, but that doesn't mean anything until they get them off SWIFT. That's what they keep saying, SWIFT. Did you hear what SWIFT is?
Yeah, SWIFT, yeah.
SWIFT. So SWIFT is something.
I've heard it being mentioned that it.
Right. It was set up in the 70s to basically allow every country to communicate in terms of financially, being able to send money and transact basically from country to country. So that's what SWIFT is. But they actually did cut them off SWIFT. Now, there's a few things here that I thought was interesting. So did you see all the donations that were being sent to Ukraine? Cryptocurrency wise?
No.
No, okay. So there's like the way you said that was really like a little kid. No.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen it. I was just thinking SWIFT. I was just thinking about SWIFT for a second. You asked me a question about crypto.
SWIFT. Isn't there something when you pay something on your bank, you have to have your SWIFT code? Is that the same thing?
SWIFT code, yeah.
Could be the same thing.
I imagine so.
Because there was a lot of people saying Russia may turn to cryptocurrency or something like this, where they don't need to be on that financial system in order to transfer funds and do all of this stuff. Now, I was in the gym here on the treadmill looking at the news, and they were like, cryptocurrency is bad because now Russia could use it. And I was thinking, that's the dumbest fucking thing to say, because they also breathe air and use tanks and have fucking airplanes. It's like, we have that too. It's you can use anything for bad or good. But what I like to see was the last time I saw it, I think it was nearly 10 million that was donated via cryptocurrency, which is easier for people to donate than going through banks, which is obviously a very positive thing. And then, did you see the videos of all the people lining up in Russia to go to ATMs? It's like listen, there's a million scary things here, but what's fucked up about that is that banking systems are fractional. That's how they work on a fractional system, meaning if I have a bank and I have 1,000 people that join up to it, I don't have all the funds for those people. I'm just hoping at a time, I'm giving you a loan and interest rate, you take out your money here. If everyone decided at one time to come in and take the money out, I'm fucked. And that's a scary thought, because right now that's what's happening. That's what's happening now in Russia, where everyone's trying to get their cash out. Because in times of war, cash is king. You don't want to be invested in different things.
Cash, like.
You need cash.
You need cash. And it's funny that, like, the money that you put in the bank, it's funny that, like, you see the digits on the screen, but as you said, it's not actually there. What they're doing with your money is they're using your money to make themselves money. And then when you go to get some money, they're hoping, as you said, it's like a fraction of what they're meant to have in store. But no, it's going to be, look, there's so much consequences to this financially, not just for Russia, but for the West as well, with like fuel prices and all these things. And who knows how bad it's going to get. You mentioned the reset idea as well. But I think to go back, what I'm thinking about is like, and I don't have the answer to it, is like, Putin is a narcissist and he's crazy. If NATO and if the West had respected what he thought was a buffer zone, like I think it was said in 1990 that NATO won't extend past Germany. That was kind of an agreement that was made. And if that was respected, and if the Ukraine and all these other countries in the Eastern Bloc were kind of buffer between the West and Russia, would this happen? Would this have happened? Or is he using the NATO expansion as a kind of scapegoat for just going in and taking what he thinks is rightfully his? I don't have the answer to it, but you have to understand as well, when there's an agreement made and when there's trust when trust is what you call it, like just disregarded. So if I say to you, Nabs, this is the agreement we're both going to have, and then you see me breaking that trust and breaking that agreement, anyone's going to get pissed off with it.
Hold on. Yeah, but they can't say, right, you're breaking our agreement, so we're going to hike up the price of gas and oil, or we're going to make it harder to transact in terms of, supplies and stuff like that. They're going to have to go in and bomb.
No, I mean, the reason he's saying, Putin is saying the reason he's going into Ukraine is because of the fact that the Ukraine are on the brink of potentially being taken into NATO.
Right.
And that would mean that NATO missiles and NATO military forces would be on his doorstep. And he made the analogy that if he was doing the same thing with Mexico, if he was getting Mexico to kind of join the Soviet military forces or whatever, and he was putting Russian missiles in Mexico, what would America do? Like, that's his kind of... And America in the past, listen, there's loads of history of this. You can look back on the Contras in Nicaragua and all these things that were kind of... There was groups of communist rebels that wanted to kind of overthrow government, and what America done was support. Or no, was it like they were already communist entities and America would fund these rebel groups to try and overthrow the communist governments? So it's a similar... Like, this has been going on for so long, these kind of... proxy wars around the world between communism and democracy, and this is a major one because of the fact that it's on the doorstep of Europe, it's on the doorstep of Russia, and also because of all of the tension that's been built up over the last few years. So I'm not saying, like, I think war is it's the worst thing ever for the poor people in Ukraine and for potentially anywhere else that this war goes, but we have to ask ourselves the question, if our leaders in the West had dealt with it differently, would it have gone a different way? I don't have the answer to that, obviously, but we have to think about that. I just don't like the idea that we're saying, like, Putin bad, West good, because that fuels the whole fucking war.
But I don't think
it's going to get to the case where...
If you're thinking, I don't think that personally. I think this is to do with corrupt government system that's been in place forever, and it's a fucked up system, and all of these different agreements and trade things and blah, 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 and we want to have power, and we're building that, and we got an alliance with you, and all this shit. And now we've got China, Russia, America all vying over trying to be a superpower. In my personal opinion, it's like a bedroom that's so fucking messy. The only way to clean it out is to take it all out and put it back in. That sounds fucked up, because the last thing on earth anyone wants is a big war, but something has to happen. Because the way it's going on now, even with China...
So, like, do you think that someone's responsible for that reset? Like, do you think that it's a pre-thought, premeditated idea?
I don't necessarily think it's premeditated. I think it's just part of the... As fucking hippie as it sounds, it's kind of part of it. the universe. It's just at some point when you have all of this tension and all of this stuff come together, it naturally has to reset because you've got so much divide, so much things going wrong. The system's not working. Nobody trusts the governments for good reason. I don't know. I
But do you
really
think
don't
that
know.
the narrative, would you agree with the narrative, or would you agree that the narrative in the Western media is that Putin is a volatile dictator who's just decided off the cuff to go back into Ukraine and try to take it over as part of the Soviet Union? Do you think that's what we're being kind of described?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like you said earlier on, you need to listen to both sides. So I try get that on Twitter. Like, I know they say Twitter is a bit of a toxic place, but I think it's more toxic if you have a lot of followers and you're posting and you're hearing people talk about it. But as an observer, just looking in through the glass, you kind of get to see a lot of different parts of it. So I don't know because I'm not watching that. Maybe they are trying to push that narrative, but
Ed,
I don't know.
Can I ask
really
you a
don't
question? If your man's finished chainsawing in your bedroom,
It's very sporadic. It's going. I've been muted. I didn't want to butt in because it does keep.
but did
going
you
on.
watch the video I sent you about the Munich Securities Conference in 2007?
Is this the one that was translated into English? What Putin was talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched some of it. Yeah, I didn't really understand a lot of it.
But well, a lot of it is very relatable to this issue today because he spoke in that about not like about the NATO expansion and about how it's not respecting this agreement that was made in 1990 because the Cold War was such a like Russia, as you mentioned there, Nabs, like it's like a pissing contest. Their power is dwindling. They're not really the same power that they were back in the fucking 80s, 70s, 80s, early 90s. And America's power has just grown, especially with the spread of capitalism to like all parts of the world. I mean, if you go to anywhere nowadays, like when I was in Thailand, I saw throughout the years I went there, just constantly more and more corporations, whether it was in food, well, mainly food, like McDonald's, KFC, like a Western influence spreading around the world. And because he's such a narcissist and he's such a fucking crazy cunt, he's probably just getting so pissed off with this idea that NATO are just doing what they want in terms of taking whoever they want in and not respecting this agreement that was made to try and actually keep a buffer between Russia's territory, whatever, and American and Western territory.
But even that, who's to say that even that whole thing of keeping territories and keeping all that, who's to say that that's the way it should be done? I mean, that causes a lot of fucking problems too, because if you're born in Bosnia or you're born in Canada or you're born in another country, you're immediately put on this is your path now. Like the number one determining factor in whether or not you're going to be successful or not, the number one determining factor is the city you are born into or you live in. That's the number one determining factor, nothing else.
100%.
So that's a scientific fact. So okay, you look at that and you think,
I'm just hoping there's a way this can be resolved without fucking war, which doesn't seem to be the case at this stage.
Look, I've always got an optimistic view. I do think so. I mean, I did see one tweet, Ed, I sent you this just before I was parking my fucking car to this co-working space here. It was a tweet where some guy, he had called a lot of stuff when COVID happened. Now, he's just a cryptocurrency guy. He's got a very, very big following, but seems to be very articulate. And he put a tweet up. I don't know if you have it. It was like worst case scenario tweet. See if you can find it and I'll read it off.
This one here.
Can you zoom? Yeah, zoom in on that if you can.
Yeah.
So this was in response. Let me see. I need my readers on. So this was in response to when Putin was mentioning nuclear stuff. So this guy says, okay, this is bad. It's still a low probability event, and we will all be glad to laugh at this off if it's just a drill. But you may want to seriously consider getting as far as away from US and European cities as possible. Maybe go to a rural area or work remotely. Now, again, I think that's not going to happen. I think it's a worst case scenario. But it did get me thinking, if America get involved here in terms of like actually fighting, I'm getting the first flight home to Dublin. I'm going to my mate's bar. I'm going downstairs. I'm ordering a Guinness, and I'm not fucking leaving until this all gets straightened out. Because that's a scary thought if that happens.
It's a good game plan.
Thank you.
I feel like I wasn't thinking through too much how much of a Putin supporter I might have sounded like. But what I want is I just do not want to get to a stage where, the West, everyone in the West has this idea that Russia are bad and we're good, and therefore we'll fight to defend what's good. against what's bad. Because again, who's going to be fighting? It's not like you're going to be going over fighting against fucking Vladimir Putin on like sitting in the fucking ditch. It's going to be
I don't
poor
think
people on
people
both
think
sides,
that the
right?
West is. I don't think the people in the West think that. I think most people now don't trust the government after what COVID happened and after everything else. They don't trust it. So that is a narrative that's being pushed, but I don't
But in
know.
all seriousness,
listen-
we're very lucky to be able to sit here on a podcast and talk about this stuff. And my thoughts and prayers, in all seriousness, do go out to the people in Ukraine. And I hope that fucking there isn't too much fucking loss of life, because it's very sad, man. For just what
I had a couple of thoughts. One, what would you do if it happened? Right. So just let me just state that's the first point. What would you do if it happened? Two, I want to ask you about neutral countries, because I actually started Googling this to find out what countries are neutral. Right. So I'm going to ask you that after. Now, if it happened, now this is, I shouldn't even really fucking bring the scenario in, but look, it is what it is. It does cross my mind. All these people that have the bunkers with all of the tin food and everything else, they're starting to not seem as crazy as you think. Like, that's reality.
100%.
They're really not, right? Because if this happens,
they were the conspiracy theorists, like.
they were. I know you're going to fight for them because you're the fucking team leader, right? You set up the Facebook group. But anyway, what'll happen is the first thing is supply chains cut off completely if they start going to war with Europe and America and all of that. So that means food and everything else is fucked. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. If I'm back in Ireland, how do I get food? Because that's going to be something that's going to be tough, right? So I'm thinking that, and then that's the crazy thing that I'm thinking of. Can you imagine if this actually happened? Can you imagine what would fucking go on? It's so fucking crazy to think
In the
about.
current world, though, where the supply chain is so fragile because of the size of the supply chains and how global everything has become, that won't take a lot to impact that, man. It won't take a full-scale war, I think, to impact it.
No.
It'll just need some destabilization, and people, you know, where fuel prices going through the roof is going to cause a massive impact on it. A lot of companies won't be able to sustain business under a very heavy overhead like that. So we'll see. Look, please God, as I said, just the main focus now is that there's people living in Ukraine who are being pushed out of their home and have to go and find refuge somewhere else, and all because some fucking dickheads at the top of the world want to have a pissing contest and want to
it's fucking crazy.
You know, can't just sit down and fucking have a conversation and try to resolve it out. But look, I want to get onto that Ask Reddit because I'm conscious.
Before we do that, right? Before you do that, let me ask you real quickly. Neutral countries. I'm going to say Shane, Ed. I'm going to give you 3 guesses each, right? There's 8 countries that are neutral, meaning they don't have military operations that go in. Now, they might do different things in terms of sanctioning, but military, they don't have it in. So I'm going to start off with Shane first.
You said there's 8 in the whole. There's 8 in the whole world that are neutral.
There's 8 recognized neutral countries. Now, there's other ones that are slightly there and everything else. 8. So I'm going to say
Ireland.
Shane, Ireland doesn't count because we all know that. Because that's why I said I'm getting my first. Because I just said if shit hits the fan here, I'm getting the first flight back. I'm not getting my first flight back to fucking eat potatoes. I'm doing it because Ireland is neutral country, so we're not going to be involved in the bombs. So another one other than Ireland, Shane, you go.
Okay. Finland.
Correct. Okay, 1 point to Shane. Ed, take a guess. Take a guess, baby.
Norway.
Nope. Back to Shane.
Sweden.
Correct. Edwards.
No.
Back to you. Go on, back to you.
I hate losing. Okay.
Quick fire.
Okay, we'll stay with that. Oh no.
Do me a favor though. Can you bang the table a bit more because it's nice in the ears? So.
I was thinking I was doing that. Sorry.
Go ahead.
That's about to go off as well. Okay. Chad.
Hey, can you do it any longer, or are you just going to fucking...
I just said one.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, no, definitely not. Shane, last one, go ahead.
Switzerland.
Mate, Shane, 3 for 3, lads. This is an educated fucking boy.
Shane's on his laptop. I don't believe it.
He's not on the laptop. No, I believe him. Shane doesn't do that shit. He doesn't do that shit. He's pretty good at that.
I just knew it.
No, he doesn't. No, I know he knows. Shane knows a lot about it. No, he's 3 for 3.
No, because he got cameo as well. I'm talking about in this podcast. He
Competitions today.
Yeah, but last one, Ed. Give a go on the last one.
Oh, I don't fucking know. I'm bored of it now because I haven't won.
Negative Nelly. You sound like those leaders. You sound like those leaders, mate. That fucking, when the thing shit doesn't go their way, they fucking start a war. But anyway,
Peru.
yeah, no, absolutely terrible. So Ed, you need to travel a bit more. So anyway, I'm going to list them off real quickly: Austria, Costa Rica, Finland, Ireland, Liechtenstein, Sweden, Switzerland, and Turkmenistan. They're the 8 neutral countries. So shit hits the fan. Fuck off to one of those.
Yes, boy.
I'm off to Peru.
Yeah.
Ed, give us the ass credits, bud.
Yes, let's do them. We have one left over from last week, or 2 weeks ago now. We left it on a cliffhanger because we didn't get an answer for it. So everyone wants to know, boys, who is the most famous person that you've ever met?
Yeah, that's a good one. Shane, you go ahead first.
I'll have to say Danny DeVito, because I met him twice in the space of about 5 days, which is very unusual to meet someone so famous.
Mate, I remember
randomly.
you met him twice. Because I remember when you met him the first time. We were at fights, right? In London.
Cage Warriors, yeah, and I was fucking pissed. Went up to him, was rubbing his head, singing Danny Boy to him. I just thought it was the most annoying cunt in the
Ed,
world.
I'm sitting there watching fights. I turn around and I see Shane and Danny DeVito, and Shane has his fucking hand on his baldy head, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
But you know what the funny thing is? I was so annoying. When he left the venue, I was screaming Danny Boy, the song at him. I'll send you the video for that because it's fucking hilarious.
You have a video
And then
of
he
it?
probably thought in his head, yeah, I have a video of it on my Instagram. I'll send it to Ed, you can throw it up. But as he was walking away, he was probably thinking, thank fuck, I never have to see that fella again. And then 4 or 5 days later, I was on my lunch in the gym and I cycled over to get a coffee. And the next thing I saw someone crossing the road, I said, that looks like Danny DeVito. I said, it is fucking Danny DeVito. So I said, Danny! Cycled over to him and he looked and he was like, oh, I could see his face, like, no way, like, not this fella again. I was like, Danny, I met you at the
That's
fight.
an Angel?
It's great
An
to
Angel?
see ya. An Angel, yeah. I think he was with this woman and a child. Apparently he has a house there. But anyway, she fucking told me fuck off pretty quickly because I was putting a lot of attention on him. I was screaming, Danny, it's great to see you again. So yeah, Danny DeVito is my one.
My one's probably, I'm going to end up thinking about something later, but I would say Bon Jovi. Because when we were in the, and I've actually funny story behind this. When we were in the band, at one point we ended up getting a big tour with Bon Jovi. Prior to this tour, the biggest gigs we would have done, I would say probably 1,000, maybe people, right? And then we ended up getting pushed into this, which was 35,000 people. And we had to go meet them at 12 o'clock in the day. And the production team, there was 200 people there. And they gave us the kind of like what you had to do for the day, like the time you go on, all this kind of shit. And at the very end of the meeting, they were like, but by the way, if you run over time at all, there's going to be big problems. So we were like, fuck, nervous. And he goes, also, one last thing, don't look at Bon Jovi in the eyes. That's what he said.
Jesus Christ.
And we were like,
that's a terrible way to get introduced to someone.
Oh, and also like our dressing room was beside their dressing room, and we were nervous. We were young. This was a huge step up. 35,000 people. It was going to be recorded. All of this huge production that goes behind it. Like I was so nervous, I was out of body. You know, when you're that nervous, you're out of your body. You can't feel anything. You're not there. I was not there at all. And it would have just taken.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is. But can you imagine if you just knocked on the door and said, "Boys, I was in this position when I was younger. Have the fucking crack. Go out there and just take it all in. Maybe do a quick shot with us. He doesn't have to do the shot, but you know." And just like 5 seconds, come in and do that. It would have pumped us up like crazy, but he didn't do it. And then we ended up doing a radio tour after it in Ireland because they were like this kind of young, unsigned band doing this big tour. And they were like, first question, what was he like? And we were like, we don't know. We never fucking met him. I was like, okay, cool. The interviews lasted like a minute.
Should have just lied.
So,
yeah, he should have just lied and said he was such crack. We had a few pints of Guinness with him.
I have heard, though, afterwards from different sources that some people say he's a really good guy and some people say he's not. So I don't know what to believe. So is what it is. Next question, Edward.
What gets more complicated as you get older?
What gets more complicated as you get older?
I don't really have an answer for that. Top
you know what, actually, have you seen the documentary, Shane, called 180 Degrees South?
No, I haven't.
No. So
but
it follows.
It's about turning around.
Good, yeah. So
is it really?
It's, kind of. So it follows these two friends, Yvonne Chouinard, and I think his name is Douglas. Tompkins or Thompson's. And Yvonne is the founder of Patagonia, one of the largest outdoor kind of clothing brands that there is, billion-dollar company. And Douglas is the founder of North Face. So imagine two best friends founding two of the biggest outdoor companies that there is. Now, this documentary was fucking brilliant because these two guys, their whole lives, like they've always been very free spirits. In the 60s and 70s, they used to just go rock climbing and surfing. And Yvonne's got a great book actually called Let My People Surf. It's a brilliant book about like having a billion-dollar company and having more of a sustainable and ethical way to have it. But anyway, so as they were doing all of this in the 70s, they would just build gear, build like crate jackets, like sew them together. And that's how they actually founded their companies, by doing it themselves. But the documentary followed them because they had this epic journey where they went from LA or somewhere in California all the way to Chile in like a road trip and just to climb this huge big mountain. And it was a brilliant story. But to circle back to the question, which is what gets more complicated, in the documentary, Yvonne Chouinard says the hardest thing in the world is to simplify your life, and it's easy to make it very complicated. And it kind of stuck with me because as you go through life, we just keep accumulating shit, credit cards, debt, fucking new jobs, new phones, cars, all this kind of crap that we keep accumulating. And it takes away from what the simple things in life. Shane, you've just had a baby daughter. I think you can agree with this. The happiest you probably are in life is just spending time with her, doing something fun and watching
100%.
her grow, right?
100%.
Probably in nature.
In my view, that you try to be, but the reason you try to make yourself successful is so that you can remove most of the fucking things, like, and just be
right.
You know, just
and
be
he
with the moment.
And he says, you know, this is two mid-60-year-old billionaires who've done it all, and sometimes you have to kind of listen to their advice because they've really been through it. And he said sometimes the best step forward in life is to take 180 degrees turn and step forward. So that circles back to what Shane said.
I knew when you said 180 degrees, I was like, there has to be some element of turning around.
Beautiful concept though, because you know, I think as life gets on, it does get more complicated. That's what people say. Life is more complicated because you are accumulating more. And sometimes you need to just go back to being a kid and just doing the basic things that you like.
100%.
Obviously. So there's my answer.
Very good one, Nebs. Very good one. I must say, I'm going to turn around there now later on.
Do. Turn around and step forward. What's the last one, Edward?
Okay, what famous person would you be heartbroken?
Every time we ask Ed a question, he does the biggest kiss ever. Have you noticed that? Go on, Ed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a bad
yeah. Watch it back.
Yeah.
What famous person would you be heartbroken to find out is actually a terrible human being?
Vladimir Putin.
He's a terrible cunt.
There's only one answer here. David Attenborough. David Attenborough.
Ooh,
give me another one than that, Shane. Think about it. Who else would you?
Like,
that's the one, right?
Like that's the one. That's the fucking
one.
That's
it.
Yeah.
That was a great one.
You know what? I'll challenge you. If anyone's watching this, if you think of someone else, put it in the comments. But to me, there's no one. If I found out he was a cunt,
Jesus, that's fucking even have to hurt my feelings thinking about it. Jesus, I'd hate if he was a cunt. He better be a nice man, boy. I'm going to text him on Instagram and see if he gets back to me.
Yeah, lads, it's been beautiful to
catch
up
on Cameo.
with you.
Is David?
Oh, that'd be brilliant. I'll have a quick look if he's on. If he's on Cameo, we're going to pay to get a CraicHouse intro from David Attenborough.
100%. Even if
it's
$10 grand.
Nabs,
you can pay for it.
It doesn't look like he's on there, boys.
Yeah,
he's on there.
Do you know why?
Impressionist.
No, do you know why he's not on there, lads?
Don't.
Because he's not a cunt.
That's a very good point. A lot of the people you mentioned earlier were cunts. But lads, that was a fucking very enjoyable episode, and I want to make it clear that I am not supporting Russia's invasion of Ukraine because it sounds like that. Or maybe they get my thoughts across as well. But I just really want people to understand that there is no good or bad. It's all people at the top having fucking stupid disagreements and arguments that they can't sit down and fucking sort out. And the people that are going to suffer are the poor people in Ukraine who are fucking getting moved out of their homes, the people who are fighting on the other side for Russia and the army, and people just dying for the sake of this stupid, unnecessary, in my view anyway, unnecessary or potentially unnecessary war.
highly unnecessary. Yeah, it's fucked up. When you see all that stuff on Twitter and the videos and everything else, it is fucking heartbreaking. There's another thing. I'm not going to get into it now, but we'll get into it on the next one. I've been digging down fucking rabbit holes of what's going on with China and Taiwan. We'll talk about it in the next episode. Thanks everyone
Boys,
for listening.
That was brilliant.
Really, really appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. It really helps. And go to our Instagram, which is CraicHouse Podcast. Give us a follow there. Again, we're very new at this. We're just building everything up. So we appreciate everyone's support, all the comments and everything else. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. And if you could not comment on my grey T-shirt having sweatpants, because I'm very conscious about it. I'm not going to wear grey anymore.
Give us a quick look at them before you leave.
To myself.
Give us a quick look at them before you leave.
Go on, give us a flash.
Yeah, it's not that bad. But Shane, this is why I wear black all the time, just to stop those fucking pits, mate.
But
all right,
you have
lads, I
all the
love you
white
to
stains,
bits,
anyway.
right?
All right, lads.
True.
Ooh.
Love you to bits.
Nice one, fellas.
We'll chat to you next week.
See you later, lads.
Latest, boys.